Greetings, Cap fans, and welcome to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast. This is episode 111, and I am your host, Rick Verbanis, and I'm joined by the best gosh darn co-host out there. That is one Mr. Robert, quote, Bob, unquote, Lucius. Hey, Bob. Hey, Soul Sister. That's it. That's it.
There's no more?
No. I mean, I could talk about my untrimmed chest if that makes you feel better or anything like that. But no. Or Mr. playing on the radio.
Okay, I'm feeling awkward. What's Soul Sister? You got to enlighten me here.
Hey, Soul Sister. Come on, you know that song.
Yeah, I guess I've heard it, but what's the connection?
Hey, Soul Sister. Well, because we're going to be covering today Captain America, Black Panther, Flags of Our Fathers. And it's actually going to be a two-part podcast series because it's 4 issues, and we want to do old school. We're going to go through it panel by panel. So we're going to do issues 1 and 2 today. But Bob, issue 1 of the series had a cover date of June 2010, but actually released on April 7th of 2010. And do you know what the #1 song was April 7th of 2010?
Was it Soul Sister?
No, it wasn't.
Oh.
But it was Rude Boy by Rihanna. And quite frankly, I didn't want to say the lyrics.
I don't even know if I'm familiar with that song by I know Umbrella, Ella.
Yeah, Rude
one,
Boy.
Right? Shut Up and Drive, but I don't know Rude Boy.
Yeah. It All right, here are the opening. Here, I could have started with this, Bob. It's Soul Sister. Hey, Soul Sister was actually #3, and I thought it was a good greeting. Hey, Soul Sister, right?
Right.
Whatever.
Right, yeah.
Or I could have done the lyrics to "Rude Boy" by Rihanna, which was the #1 song at the time. You ready for that?
Okay.
Here you go. Here you go, Bob.
All right.
Come here, Rude Boy. Can you get it up? Come here, Rude Boy. Is you big enough?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I could have gone that route, but I was like, nah, I don't think I will.
Yeah, that's probably a good call. Probably a good call. Wow, I haven't heard that song before.
Now I think
it's on my playlist.
I know, right? What's going to happen is somehow awkwardly Google's going to get this search for "Hey Rude Boy" by Rihanna.
Yeah.
Today. Yeah. At least 4 people are going to look it up.
I'm going to be getting even more Hims ads on Facebook.
Right? Yeah. How you been, man? How you doing?
Doing okay, man. Doing okay.
Yeah, I know you've been a little under the weather.
I have.
And
you know what though, Rick? I'm going to tell you a secret.
What's that?
See, I was going to post this in the Facebook group, but I can't now because my wife might have seen it.
Uh-oh.
So, I went to the doctor yesterday, and it turns out I had bronchitis for the last few weeks. So,
that explains your squeaky voice.
Yeah. So he put me on a bunch of meds, and I had to go fill the prescriptions at the local Walgreens. So I'm waiting because you always got to wait at Walgreens. I'm browsing around, and I remember back. I guess I had to been around 10, 11. I had chickenpox.
Mm-hmm.
This was back in the late 70s, right? Like mid 70s, 77, around there. And you probably don't remember, but they had these Evel Knievel cycles.
Yeah,
they had a little base. You spun the
the
snake canyon,
and then it would jump, right?
Yeah. So I wanted one of those desperately because my friend had one, and so I was home, and my mom got me that when I was homesick for a few days with the chickenpox. And I thought to myself, I had a warm fuzzy, like, oh, remember when you were sick and sometimes you got like a special gift because you were sick for a few days.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I'm getting myself a damn gift. So I'm walking around Walgreens, and they had.
Did you go to the toy aisle?
I did, of course. I always do. I always go there first, So they had the Hasbro Legends Baron Zemo.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah, and I'm like, I'm getting that for myself. I haven't snuck it in the house yet. So, but yeah, I was like, I'm getting myself a self-soother.
Nice. A little
Yeah.
self-medication.
Yeah, a little self-medication. So
Yeah. Well, you
yeah,
totally have to post that in the Facebook group. I want
yeah.
to see it. I
I
want to
know.
see it
I
more.
got to do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was cool. So
Yeah. Are you on any medication?
I am, Rick. I got some antibiotics, got a little steroids, and I'm not feeling any buffer. It's weird. And a little bit of the cough syrup with the codeine. So
What?
yeah. So if I doze off during this, more than
Uh-huh.
usual,
Right.
yeah. So just bear with me.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you're such a trooper. You're such a trooper. We appreciate you coming on the show, even though you're not feeling 100%. Yeah. So speaking of the Facebook group, and please do post that because I want to see a picture of it.
All right.
I know the last time I was on here and I was like, you know what? When we did that Spider-Man issue and like nobody commented on that, right? Which I was baffled because I kind of swore I was going to get cursed out for the Bob Lucia song. But the very next one, we have like, a ton of comments on there. And that was episode 108. Yeah, when we had Dr. Mark White on the show, and spawned a lot of conversation, about philosophical questions of
I love
surrounding
that.
Cap.
Yeah.
But my favorite one was we had um, Jason Olson
Mm-hmm.
commented,
Yeah.
and he's like, now Jason Olson, he's been a guest on the show, and he's a writer of the Mark Grunwald book, and great guy, and had him certainly, he's part of the Facebook group as well, and he posted, he goes, just so you know, Rick and Bob, when the question came up about multi-time guests, I started screaming my name into my phone, hoping somehow you could hear me.
I know, it's hard, it's hard. We got so many of these episodes now and so many people, they all, after a while, you start to like,
Don't say it. No, don't you dare say it. Every one of them is special. Every one of them is special, and every one of them is memorable. And every one of them, we appreciate our guests 100%.
That's exactly what I was going to say, bro.
Okay. And well, you know what? Listen, Jason did say there is no podcast I'd rather be a multi-time guest on.
Mm-hmm,
So,
mm-hmm.
And
It's like
Jason's
SNL, right? What do they have, like Double Trouble, Triple Threat?
Yeah. So he's like the Steve Martin
Yeah,
of
right.
SNL, right?
Yeah,
Of our podcast.
yeah. Those multi-season hosts. Yeah, we gotta.
No, we'll totally have Jason back on again.
Yeah, he's awesome.
We'll have to have, we'll have to time it with another Mark Grunwald issue that we want to cover, something special. But anyway, yeah, it was fun. So for those listeners out there, you've probably heard us ramble on about the Facebook group a million times. But check it out. It's a great place to kind of share your thoughts and reminisce and go down, take a trip down memory lane, which is always fun to do.
Yeah, and there's great conversation. In fact, I am getting ready, Rick, to drop a post probably in the next day. Something's been on my mind. I've been thinking about a lot lately, and I want to, that's what I love about the group, because it's a place where, like, man, I've been thinking about this. I've been wrestling with it. And I want to put it out there because there are some folks in that group that got a depth of knowledge that is, impressive as hell. And I always get like great feedback, great comments, great suggestions, ways that make me think about things in ways I hadn't thought about them before. And so it helps me figure out some of this stuff.
Well, it's going to be, by the time people listen to this, whatever post that you're going to put tomorrow is going to be up there. So just tell me, what is.
All right. Well, I've been thinking about, I've been wrestling with this idea of moral injury, right? I've been thinking about like the times in Steve Rogers' career as Captain America where he has felt disappointed. He's acknowledged that he's been disappointed in either his country or the military or the government, right? And of course, he's always like, he holds true to the American dream, right? And I'm sure there's been times where he's been disappointed by maybe the American people, right? But I want to know, like, those things are easy to pick out, right? There have been a number of times, and sometimes the whole story arcs have turned on those moments, those experiences for Steve. But I want to hear about the times where he has been surprised in a good way, where he has been his faith has been redeemed, right?
Mm.
Where he
Mm-hmm.
has been like rewarded for his faithfulness in the American people, in the American dream. I mean, we don't talk about those as much, but they're out there, right? They're in the stories, and I want to
Sure.
hear what people say are those moments for them.
Okay, I like that. I hope we get a lot of responses. We usually do. We usually get some good examples and some good responses from people in the group. So cool. I like that. Oh, Bob. Also, by the time this comes out, people probably most likely have seen the new Black Panther Wakanda Forever movie.
Right?
I have my tickets.
Do you really?
I do. We're going opening night -1. So, normally it comes out November 11th, Friday,
Right.
November 11th.
Yeah.
Uh, we are going Thursday night. So my
Wow.
wife and I are taking our daughter.
Nice.
Yeah,
Good for you.
I like doing that because I hate getting spoilers. You know what I
No,
mean? So I
yeah.
try to go early so that way nothing, because I'm on the internet all the time with the Facebook group and, and other things.
Yeah.
So, uh,
Oh, that sounds fun.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
looking forward to it. And so speaking of Black Panther, we thought it'd be fun to do this story today, which is supposedly, and I say that because supposedly it's the first time Captain America meets Black Panther. Now, you may say, wait a minute, Rick and Bob, didn't we just cover in episode 105 Sergeant Fury and Howling Commandos number 13, which came out in 1964, which is Cap meets Nick Fury? Yeah,
Right.
we did. Yeah, that
Mm-hmm.
happened in France. And that was supposed to be the first time that happened. But apparently, when this story came out in 2010, it was the first time Cap met a different Black Panther. It's
Mm-hmm.
to T'Challa's grandfather, right? So,
Mm-hmm.
I guess we're splitting hairs. I guess we can say, okay, sure, this is the first time Cap meeting Black Panther and first time in Wakanda. Um, I, quite frankly, I can't remember because it was 6 episodes ago. Um, if Cap remembered being in Wakanda or if he was acting as if it was the first time he did it. Um, but I don't know. It's interesting that Marvel decided to do this. You know, gosh, here it is, 46 years later,
Mm-hmm.
a new story saying it's the first time they met.
Yeah. I gotta wonder what the genesis was. Do you know what the genesis was behind this?
About why the story was created?
Yeah, why they did this particular
I
series.
don't know, but I would say it probably has something to do with Reginald Hudlin, the
Mm-hmm.
writer.
Right.
Now Reginald Hudlin, and we were going to get into this when we talk about the
Yeah.
creators, but he's a pretty famous guy.
Mm-hmm.
He has been in the TV and film industry for quite some time. In fact, in 2005 to 2008, he was the president of BET, which is Black Entertainment Television. He had also either produced or directed or written many different films and TV shows. I think in the early 90s, you might remember House Party or Boomerang, which I think was the Eddie Murphy movie. He was the director, and for House Party, he was a writer. And then he's been several other movies and TV shows along the way. So he's got that background, but he's also been a comic book writer for quite some time too. So he was doing he did all of volume 4 of Black Panther. I think he did some other Black Panthers as well, and so that took place. I think this miniseries took place right in the smack middle of his
Mm-hmm.
ongoing Black Panther series. So I think perhaps maybe he felt like he had this story in him and approached Marvel and said he wanted to do it. I don't know. I'm merely guessing.
Yeah.
100% guessing it, but
Yeah.
yeah, that's
also, I think he's credited along with John Romita Jr. as the creator of Shuri, right?
is he?
I
I don't
believe he
know.
is. Yeah. Yeah. Which is fortuitous with the movie coming out, of course. And
Yeah.
so, all right.
Yeah. And so let's get into the creators, right? So
Yeah.
Reginald Hudlin, again, pretty famous writer. And then the penciler on this is Dennis Cowan. Now, Dennis Cowan had been in the industry for quite some time as well, leading up to here. He started with Marvel, I think it was around 1980. And he had done a bunch of like one issue here, two issues there, three issues there. Then in the early 80s, he did a nice run of Power Man and Iron Fist. Then in the mid to late 80s, he did a real long run, like 3 years almost of The Question. But then he did, some other runs. He did Deathlock for a while. He did Hardware, which was at DC Comics milestone. I guess world, that was a lot of Black characters and creators. In fact, I'm looking at this, and I would say most of the characters that he did, that he spent a lot of time on, like Power Man, Iron Fist, and um, Deathlock, and Hardware, the ones that he had these longer runs on, and were Black characters. He even did some smaller stuff like with Black Racer or Black Lightning. So I don't know if that was done on purpose, if that was like something that he looked for, or if, they felt more comfortable having a Black creator on a Black character. I don't know. But it does stand out. But he's an interesting penciler. He's more sketchy, I would
Agreed.
say,
Yeah.
than a refined, pencil. And then so an interesting inker to partner with him on this was Klaus Johnson, or I don't know if it's Jansen or Johnson. I've heard it pronounced two different ways, but and he's the longtime inker on Frank Miller, for his Daredevil series. But Cap fans probably recognize he was the inker on John Romita Jr. During Volume 7. So it's an interesting art style for this. The colorist is Pete Pant. Was it Pantazis? I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Letterer Joe Sabino, and then editor is Axel Alonso. So that is the list of creators for this. As I mentioned before, cover date of June 2010, but it had a release date of April 7th. Do you want to hear the solicitation for it, Bob?
Hell yeah, I do, Rick.
All right. For the first time ever, see the full story of the first meeting of Captain America and the Black Panther. It's a World War II adventure featuring a young Steve Rogers, the Black Panther, and Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos in combat with the nastiest Nazi villains in the Marvel Universe. And on the cover here, Bob, now this is Marvel Knights. Do you want to remind the listeners what the Marvel Knights publication?
No, I sure don't, Rick.
Okay.
It
That's
honestly,
right. Outside your wheelhouse, right?
It really is outside my wheelhouse. And I know we've talked about this before, and you
I thought you were paying attention. Yeah.
I was, but I didn't memorize it.
Yeah. Okay.
I can barely remember what I had for lunch. What the hell did I have for lunch? Oh, frozen burritos. Yeah, I'm saving up points to get my free Reds burrito T-shirt. So,
oh my God,
pretty excited. I'm up to 36 points already. Just a few more to go. So, in any case, yeah.
Can I have some of that codeine, please? Okay, Marvel Knights. Marvel Knights was an imprint in the 90s that was a more mature rating, if you will.
That must be why I like it. It's the mature.
Yeah. Joe Quesada, Bill Jemas, I think these were the guys that kind of came up with this imprint. But anyway, yeah, that's what this is. It's a more mature story, and we'll see, because quite frankly, war is hell,
Yeah.
and they certainly do depict that in this series. So,
And I think
Buck,
last time you said, see, I did recall this. You said that these books, this imprint, wasn't shy about showing blood, for
yes,
instance, right?
right.
Uh, in some cases, gratuitously in the art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Uh, so it's a Marvel Knights imprint. It's a 4-issue miniseries. It's on the cover here. It has a World War II version of Captain America. So he's got the heater shield, right? He's got the triangular shield with the vertical red and white stripes with the blue horizontal across the top with the white stars in his left hand, and then holding an American flag in the right hand. In front of him is Black Panther in his garb with a cape. And how would you describe the weapons that he is holding?
They're an unusual weapons, right? I mean, they are edged blades, curved, so essentially short staffs, right? I mean, they kind of look like lightsaber handles, right? But on each end, there are these large curved blades coming
Yeah,
out.
sickles of some sort.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're like mini sickles, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some would
Sickles.
call them death sickles.
Odd. Some being you.
Me
Yeah.
mostly, yeah.
Then behind them is a huge explosion going on. So there's a lot of yellow and orange and fire kind of looking colors, but you could tell they're in the jungle because there's blades of grass, tall blades of grass underneath their boots. And we cut to a very interesting opening splash page, Bob. It's not one that you would expect, right? You would expect Captain America or you would expect Black Panther. But instead, we get one of the Howling Commandos, Gabe Jones. Now, Gabe Jones, for those who are not familiar with the Howling Commandos, and by the way, go back and listen to episode 105, where we cover the Sergeant Fury 13, because we do spend a little bit of time going through each one of the commandos and kind of describing them. So I'm not going to do that again. But he is the sole African American soldier in Nick Fury's group, right? And he is one who is known for having his bugle. And he carries it around and he plays it. Now, his background, Bob, I'm not sure if you know this about him, but he grew up as a jazz musician as a kid, and he actually studied and learned how to play from Louis Armstrong.
You don't say.
Yeah. And so, because I think his dad had a jazz club or something like that. I could be getting that wrong. But anyway, so that's probably how he met Louis Armstrong. And so he's a talented musician. But it's World War II. And of course, he's part of the war. And I don't know if he got drafted or not, but most likely. And here we are in this opening splash page, and we see Gabe Jones holding his machine gun and aiming it at the reader, and behind him, and it looks like he's in some sort of tunnel or bunker, right? It's dark. There are wooden crates behind him with Nazi and German soldier emblems on there, and there's fire going off, like bullets, like shooting around him, and he's just grimacing in his army fatigues, and the only words you see are, "I hate Nazis." We cut to the next page, and then we see from his perspective the Nazis that are running down the aisle between these crates, firing their weapons. but they're also getting fired on. So there's a middle of a firefight here. And then we see the rest of the commandos. Fortunately, I hang out with the guys who feel the same way. The Howling Commandos, we're getting a reputation. Nick Fury heads up the outfit. He's my kind of guy. He makes the impossible happen on the regular. When Fury put this squad together, he had his pick of the litter. And we cut back to earlier time when, prior to the war, where Nick Fury was going and he was meeting with various people and to pull them into his group. And so they're all standing at attention. Warhorse, like him, he didn't care that the army wasn't integrated yet. He just wanted guys who could knock a Nazi's block off. I'm the first Negro to kill Nazis alongside white American soldiers, and I like my work. And then we cut to Dum Dum Dugan. Sarge, we're outnumbered 2-1, and we lost the whole element of surprise thing. You got a point there, Duggan. Toss a pineapple at the missile, and let's hightail it out of here. But that might ignite the fuel and take us out too. You want to live forever? And here I was looking forward to chow tonight. And he grips a grenade, and he's got the pin in his teeth. He's about to pull it out and throw it. But up above him is a German soldier high above on one of the crates looking down with his machine gun, about to shoot him, and he's missing after that.
Everyone I love this. I love this panel though, Rick, right? Because he's missing in that panel. But you see how the coloring has changed, right? It's sort of a red, white, and blue tinge to what's going on up above. It's wonderfully done.
Good call out by you. Everyone looks up. We can't help it. When a grown man wearing red, white, and blue underwear appears out of nowhere, it kind of throws you off your game. And there he is. It's Captain America with his heater shield coming down, jumping down on right in the middle of the whole group of Nazis, and he's taking them out. What are you waiting on, Howlers? I said, dear chaps, is there a circus nearby? Or a mental institution? That's the weirdest thing I've ever seen, and I'm from Brooklyn. Who is this clown, Sarge? America's secret weapon. I thought we were America's secret weapon. And then they all yell. What do they yell, Bob? Woo! And they go charge him. And then we see a whole bunch of dead Nazis. It was nasty business, but we got the job done. And then we cut to Nazi high command in Berlin. This defeat is unacceptable. These hooters. Howlers, mein Führer. Howlers, we've set us back 6 months on our missile program. Don't forget, Captain America. He single-handedly turned the tide of the battle. And your point, Strucker? By the way, we're looking at Adolf Hitler. And he's talking with Baron von Strucker. Just that this arms race is escalating on several levels at the same time. Our assassin killed the scientist responsible for the Star-Spangled Buffoon, but even one super soldier will change the course of the war. Yes, it is a problem. We are working on a solution now, but I want to stay focused on our goal. To launch a missile from Europe that lands in Roosevelt's lap in Washington, D.C. And now we have found the solution to one of the most vexing problems in regard to making an intercontinental missile a reality. And we cut to one of his high staff. Gentlemen, there is an extremely rare metal that can be instrumental to our campaign. A metal that can, in fact, ensure that a missile never gets knocked off its course because it actually absorbs vibrations. This metal is called vibranium, and it can only be found in one place in the world, the African nation of Wakanda. Very little is known about Wakanda, apart from its mythology, It is a closed society with little to no trade with the outside world. Wonderful. We'll buy it off them for some shiny beads. And they all laugh. The Wakandans keep their border secure through their fierce warrior cult, which keeps neighboring tribes at bay. I think a single platoon of armed Aryans enough to keep a bunch of monkeys with sticks in their place. Wolfgang, you kill me. And Adolf Hitler says to all this, I am glad you're also covenant. You will seize command of this land and mine the ore we need with no problem. Yes, mein Führer. Sir, please come this way. And this is to Wolfgang Strucker. Why, who wants to see me? Sir, please. And then off camera, off panel, you will lead this mission. The rest are too stupid. Yes, mein Herr. And then we cut to the Atlantic Ocean. And there is is that a, what kind of ship is that, Bob?
It looks like a Navy ship, Rick.
Yes, I know, but what kind of Navy ship? It's not a battleship.
No, it's probably a destroyer. It's small enough to probably be a destroyer. Quick, easy in, easy out. Yeah, something along that line.
So we see Cap with his shield on his back, and he's walking through into the mess hall. Mind if I join you guys? Sure. No skin off my back. So he sits down with Nick and his commandos. Don't know about you guys, but I haven't eaten in days. Couldn't tell by your performance in the field. Good work out there. Thanks. So, you keep that outfit on all the time? Yep. Part of my job is to be a symbol. So, mask full time too? Sure. It's not about me. It's about what I represent. And then one of the soldiers comes up, I guess one of the cooks, right? It's after hours, but we made something special for you, Cap. That's swell, Cookie. I'm starving. So were they all called Cookie back then?
I hadn't heard. Certainly mess personnel in the Army, and sometimes in the Marines we call them Cookie. But I hadn't heard that on ship. But yeah, but
well, why would it be different on a ship?
I don't know. Just different cultures. Different cultures.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh, I'll have to wash up some silverware for you. Don't bother. Excuse me, were you finished eating? And he's talking to Gabe Jones. Huh? Yeah, but thanks, buddy. And he grabs his spoon and his fork from Gabe. And then we cut back to the inner monologue of Gabe. Not only did the guy sit next to me, but he ate after me, using a fork that only been a minute ago had been in my mouth. Who was this guy? The brass decided since we worked together so well in Germany, they sent us to back up Captain America on his next mission in Africa. So we cut to the plane flying over Africa, and there's Cap standing at the open door looking down onto the ground, and everybody else piled in behind him. Africa? Can you believe that baloney? I'm not ashamed of Africa, like a lot of Negroes are, but the likelihood of at least one of the Howlers saying something dumb is pretty good. And Cap turned back and he smiles and goes, I get out here. And then he jumps out of the plane. Now, Bob, what year did Captain America First Avenger, or no, I'm sorry, not First Avenger, the next one, Winter Soldier, come out?
I don't remember, Rick.
It was years after this, is my point.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. But here's Cap jumping out of a plane, no parachute.
But he does have a parachute.
No, well, but anyway, it's not deployed yet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. But
All
I
right.
mean, he has been in several comic books jumping out without a parachute.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
And so they're all joined at the door looking down at him. And they're all kind of talking. He could be run through with spears by the time we get there to cover him. You saw how he handled that Rachi gunfire. He's a big boy. He'll be fine. Yeah, besides, Tarzan will look out for him, right? Izzy, you're an embarrassment to your bureau. What if he runs into a tiger? That would be shocking, since tigers live in India, old chap. Like I said. Now, I'm going to be, I don't mind admitting this. I don't mind admitting this. I was a full grown adult until I knew tigers were not from Africa and they were from India.
okay.
I didn't know that as a kid.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah. Kids today probably know all that stuff, TikTok and everything,
Yeah, because all
But
those
yeah,
videos about tigers.
but us, we had to rely upon Encyclopedia Britannica and stuff, right? And
Yeah,
the
I
library,
listen. I
right?
watched the black and white Tarzan serials. I'm pretty sure there are tigers in there.
There probably were, yeah. I think that's an honest mistake. A lot of people make. Yeah.
I still don't know the difference between an alligator or a crocodile.
We actually have both here in Florida. It's
Really?
the only place I think where we have both. Yeah.
What's the difference?
Well, the crocodiles that we have here are saltwater. And
Okay.
so, and they also have, their snouts are a little bit different and they have much different musculature in their mouths. So, for example, for an alligator, you can hold an alligator's mouth together.
Mm-hmm.
They have very weak muscles to open their mouth, very
Mm-hmm.
strong muscles to close it. So once their mouths are open, you're screwed. But with a crocodile, their musculature is such that they can open their mouth and close it with almost the same amount of force. So don't wrestle a crocodile. That would be, but yeah. So down south of here, where I live in Naples, Florida, we have a lot of alligators around here. But down south, closer to the foot of Florida, 10,000 islands where the mangroves are, there are crocodiles down there.
Hmm.
Yeah, they're much more tolerant of salty water, brackish water, I guess.
But where? Okay, so you said we're the only you. I think you said
Yeah,
this is the only place in the world where they both exist at the same area.
yeah.
How did that happen?
It's a good question. I imagine they go back, thousands of years when there were land bridges that connected,
Mm-hmm.
parts of South America and
So in
Central
other
America.
parts of the world, where do you find alligators and where do you find crocodiles?
I'm not sure where you find. I think alligators are indigenous to the United States, whereas crocodiles, I mean, you find those all over the place. I was on a river in Nepal with crocodiles all around me. So, and certainly they're in Africa. Um,
Hmm.
so they're much more numerous around the world than alligators.
Are you all right? So you see alligators pretty frequently where you live, right?
All the time, man. Yeah.
And so you just look at them as like what, like rats? Like like I don't want to be around them, but I'm not afraid of them. Like
I am terribly afraid of them. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're fearful. They're big. I just had a guy got bit by an alligator out on one of my walking trails a couple of weeks ago.
yeah,
He was walking through like knee deep water, didn't see the alligator. Probably kicked. I think he thinks he probably kicked it in the face accidentally, and it bit him in the leg and held on. And his friend had to like chase it off. But yeah, I mean, I've walked down the trails where I work, with my
uh-huh.
son and my wife, and like the alligator is just like 3 feet off on the side of the trail, like with its body in the water, but its head on the land, just kind of hanging out. So
What do you do if you an alligator comes charging you?
you try to run. Yeah, they're fast. They are fast beasts. So, like, we get calls all the time, people out on the trail, like, there's an alligator on the trail. And then you got two options. It depends, obviously, if you're on the other side of the alligator from where you need to be.
Mm-hmm.
You see, like, one of our trails is a 12-mile loop. If you're on the wrong side of the alligator and it's between you and the parking lot, you got to make a choice, right? So, we advise people to generally go around behind the alligator.
Behind it.
behind it. Don't go like in front of it, its head.
Uh-huh.
And generally, they don't bug you unless it's mating season
Uh-huh.
or they're nesting.
Uh-huh.
Those are two times when they're super
Or if you're small,
aggressive,
right? Like
or if you're small,
if you're like a little
yeah,
child, it'll totally go after you, right?
it'll totally go after you. Yeah,
But
yeah,
if you're big enough where it's like, you might put up a fight.
right, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Huh.
I think about it all the time when I'm out there. So it's yeah, I see them, but I'm
Huh.
not like immune to like, oh hell no, they're big, they're prehistoric, man.
Yeah. No, yeah. Okay. You know what I don't like? I don't like snakes.
Yeah. Well, I am
And
more afraid of the snakes than I am of the alligators.
yeah, because they're smaller and can like you can be right on top of them or
Right.
vice versa.
Yeah, and they will come at you. Water moccasins. Yeah, they
See,
will.
like that's the thing that blows my mind. Like the guy who's like, oh, he was walking in the water, like what'd you say, knee deep or
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
like I
Water's knee
wouldn't
deep.
walk in water knee deep. Hell no.
I know. Well, a lot of our trail, we just had a lot of heavy rain from Hurricane Ian, so a lot of the trail systems were covered with water. They are,
So okay,
whenever it
why
rains,
are they out in the trails?
people just, these are the trails.
Yeah, but
It's
why are they there?
just hiking.
Well, why the hell are you doing it through water if they've just rained? Like
We
they're
actually leave wet walks, waist deep water. I have guides that take people out on wet walks.
no way. If you
Yeah,
can't see what is below
yeah.
the surface, there's no way I'm going out
I know
there.
it can be a little scary. Yeah.
Hell
Usually
no.
if you're in a big group, you're fine, right? Snakes aren't going to bug you. They're going the other direction. Alligators aren't messing with you. They're going the other direction. If you're by yourself or, one or two people or God forbid with a small child out there, I wouldn't go out in these sorts of environments unless I was absolutely sure there were no alligators in that area or snakes in
How can
that
you be
area.
absolutely sure?
Well, there's certain kinds of terrain that alligators prefer, right? I mean, if it's a sort of place where it's like, we call them the hydro period, but like the water, it rains, it fills up, but then it dries out, right? Alligators
Uh-huh.
generally don't like that sort of. They like a more consistent place to hunt and to swim around and stuff, whatever
Mm-hmm.
the hell alligators do. They don't want to be in an area that is, big swings of how much water there's there. So a lot of our trails, they fill up with water when it rains. It's a great place to go. Alligators aren't going to be there, or the trees are too dense and it's hard for them to maneuver through. But there's places where they are there all the time. You can
Yeah,
count on.
I gotta say, and I don't think I'm alone when I'm saying this. Um, that's just crazy. Like, there's no way.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Nature's great, Hey,
yeah.
take a walk. Sorry. Nope. I
But
ain't going
it's funny though,
anywhere
Rick,
that
because
alligators hang out.
when I lived in California, now we have panthers here, but there hasn't been a recorded panther attack on a human in like 50 years in Florida, right? But in California, where I lived, we had mountain lions, and
Mm-hmm.
you would frequently see mountain lions. They would hunt the deer that lived in the town that I lived in. They were there, and I was, you know, they will attack human beings and have attacked human beings
Mm-hmm.
before, and so you know, people still hike. You hike in groups. You don't hike by yourself. You don't bring a small animal with you because they'll go after the small animal. But you know, they seem they're the
so,
mountain lions,
so
right?
don't bring your therapy dog.
Right. Don't bring your therapy dog. But alligators just seem so damn prehistoric.
They
You
really
know,
do.
compared to like a mountain lion. You're like, feel like you can reason with a mountain lion, right? Go, 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 big noise, look big. Alligators aren't buying that crap. They don't really buy that. You know,
Ugh,
I carry a big stick.
I would imagine
Yeah.
so.
Yeah. My last resort is to try to thump them on the head or something,
Mm-hmm.
jab them in the mouth. But
Of course, I'm saying all this, and I'm feeling like, oh well, we are 100% like people are going to be on my side, but we have people listen all over the world, all over the world. I'm just
right.
I'm
Yeah.
going through right now, and gosh, okay, 29% of our listeners are not in the US,
Yeah.
right? So we have people in Australia. They're like, they're just laughing at us right now.
Right. Yeah.
Like, oh,
And he
big
doesn't laugh
deal.
about it. Dingo ate a baby there.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
we got people in Brazil, we got people in the Philippines, India. Oh gosh, I'm all over the place. Malaysia, it's South Africa.
Yeah.
We've got listeners all over the world, Bob, and it just I
Yeah.
I would love to
Yeah.
have them come on and be like, go like, so you want to talk about your alligator?
Right. Right. Yeah.
I got spiders the size of a,
That's true. Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
All
About
right.
6 months, I not to, not to belabor the point. 6 months ago, a guy in a hotel, like a hotel bar,
Uh-huh.
like in Fort Myers, went out to like have a smoke break, went outside out by the bushes. He heard some noise. He thought it was a dog in the bushes. An alligator came out and bit him in the leg, almost took his
Mm.
leg off. I'm like, damn, in the middle of Fort Myers, man. You went out to have a smoke break at the hotel.
Well,
So,
they will say smoking will kill you.
yeah. No extra charge, folks.
All right. So we're cutting and listen, we're in the middle of a jungle here in Wakanda. So I guess all this talk about, dangerous wildlife kind of just makes sense. But so here we are, and Cap did have a parachute, as Bob pointed out. And he's taking he's putting away his parachute, and he's going through the tall grass, and he comes up on a bloody face. And as he gets closer, it's actually a bloody head. And there's a whole bunch of heads on spikes, right? This is very much reminiscent of, I guess, Roman kind of battlefields where, to intimidate the enemy, basically saying, don't go any further or this will happen to you. It's a warning, if you will. But here's all these German heads that are just
Spoken
on.
like a true marketing guy.
What do you mean? How do you? I don't.
The
What do you mean?
little advertising, right?
Yeah, it's a message.
It's a messaging, right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So, and we cut to a close up on Cap's eyes. He's staring at this, and then we then cut to a close up of a face of a German soldier who is standing in front of an officer, but we don't know who the officer is yet. And the blonde hair, blue eyed, bloodied man says, "It was a slaughter, sir." "I'm listening." "We couldn't see them, but they saw us like it was midday over a sun and Termaburger, whatever the name of that town is.
I believe it's pronounced fur.
Yeah, for sure. I just got done saying we have listeners all over this world. And now, Bob, you need to apologize to our German listeners.
Sorry.
I don't know how to pronounce this. It is spelled Sonnenuterang. Is that Sonnenuterang?
That's your guess is as good as mine on that one. That's way too many syllables for me.
Ah, you pronounce. All right. And there's all these German soldiers that are running around, and then all of a sudden they're falling into a pit with pikes, where they're getting rope on their heels, being pulled up into the trees. They're getting just killed. "They picked us off one by one. They had all these traps set. We were sport to them. They made me apologize. Then they told me to return to camp and tell everyone what had happened. They said they were merciful to the first wave because they didn't know, but it would be worse for any who follow." "Do you think you were followed back?" "No, I mean, I tried, but I don't know what they are capable of." "Wait here. I'll send someone to bring you a drink to calm your nerves." And then Strucker leaves the tent where he was questioning the soldier, and he tells the guard, "Shoot him. and bury his body in the jungle. I don't want him panicking the camp. Yes, Baron. And as Cap's standing there looking at the heads on pikes, from behind him, there is a voice. You can go home now. We have already taken out the garbage. And Cap turns to see the Black Panther in his uniform as well as a cape with the long collar. I wanted to question them. We have the answers we need. Then I guess that means I have questions for you. Goodbye, Captain America. We need to talk now. And he puts his hand on Black Panther's shoulder. But as he's about to do that, coming out of nowhere, surrounding him with weapons, mostly spears, are the Wakandans. I am king here. You don't make demands. Well, pardon me, your highness. Maybe you just lop off the head of every newcomer around here. If we did that, this conversation would be over. But those Nazis were here for a reason. And then we cut to the commandos who are spying on him with binoculars. Holy mackerel. Okay, so it's not a tiger, but it is Captain America being captured by some kind of werecat? Nah, it's some kind of guy in a suit. A lot more tasteful one than our guy's wearing. Not very patriotic of you, Sarge. Can't help it, Dino. I'm a patriotic as the next guy. But run around with stars and stripes coming out of your butt ain't the look for me. So what are we doing here? We saving this guy or what? Or what? At least for now. Let's see how this plays out. Let our wartime ambassador in long underwear convince the natives we're on the same side. And if we don't, we raise hell, soldier. So we cut back to Gabe. I don't like this at all. And then we cut back to Cap and Black Panther. The Germans came to steal our vibranium, the metal that can only be found here in Wakanda. Hitler needs it for the next generation of their missile systems, as do you. These are dangerous times. You need to choose a side. We have our own. You can't be serious. We take our borders very seriously, and you have crossed ours. Now look here. And he puts his finger in Black Panther's chest. Mistake. And he kicks Captain America back. And the commandos, all they can do is say, yikes. Okay, buddy, I've about had it. Stand down, man. And he takes off his cape. In time, you will represent to your nation what the Black Panther represents to Wakanda. And that is a good thing. But today, I must teach you a lesson. What are you getting from lip reading, Jesus? Nothing from the guy in the full facial mask, but clearly they're about to scrap. I figured that much. Looks like they're going to play fair, at least until Cap wins. Ouch. Not that one, though. Ooh, nice slip. Starting a 5 count. This guy, he's got moves like nobody else. Oh, but now he's using a classic, the sleeper hold. Wow, recovered like a cat. This fight's a real nail-biter. We could sell tickets at the Garden for this one. Stay cool, but be ready to move and quick if our guy comes out on top. You will be moving, but at our command. And then behind everybody, like, I don't know about you, Bob. I was just waiting for the Wakandans to just show up behind them.
Right.
Like, did you
Of
get that
course.
feeling too?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I mean, especially since they're talking so loud.
Yeah. They're sitting around all looking at Cap and the Black Panther and not really, you know,
Yeah. Who's on guard? Like,
yeah, right.
who's
Who's covering the
watching the
six?
flanks?
Yeah.
And there it is. There's a whole bunch of Wakandans with not only spears, but also machine guns aimed at the troops. Wow. That was quiet. Drop your weapons and get on your knees. Where'd you learn to speak English? Berlin? The world is bigger than you know, American. If you cooperate, you will keep your heads, unlike your German playmates. And then they go up to Pinky. I said, drop all your weapons. My dear fellow, I had to try. And they take away his umbrella. We cut back to Gabe's inner monologue. We failed in our mission to protect Captain America. How could things be worse? And we cut back to the German, wouldn't say base. Like this is, I mean, I don't know. What do you call this, Bob?
It's their bivouac site. Yeah, their
Okay.
camp, right?
Yeah, it's just a few miles away, right?
Yeah.
Camp. Yeah, I think it's more of a camp.
Yeah.
And we cut to the tent where Strucker was in. The carpet is ruined. It is impossible to get a blood stain out of fine fabric. So what are you going to do? Replace the carpet, preferably with the skin of whoever killed our advanced team. We can't have the German army being beaten by a bunch of savages. Losing to Jesse Owens at the Berlin Olympics was bad enough. I thought you were smart enough not to underestimate this foe, which is why you keep losing, which is why I am here. The vibranium we need will be ours, and Captain America will die. Who's that, Bob?
I love this. What is it? About a 2/3 page panel there. Yeah, and it is a just great image of Red Skull in his Nazi uniform, holding his hat in his hand, and he's got just a snarl on his face. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's wonderfully done.
Who is it?
The Red Skull. Oh,
Isn't that Red Skull? Not Red Skull?
That's Red Skull.
Red Skull.
I have a cue card. It's phonetically spelled. It's a post-it note on my computer now.
Oh, I see.
It's the Red Skull.
Uh-huh. All right, let's get to issue number 2. All right, so Bob, for issue 2, do you want to hear the solicitation?
I'm not going to be happy unless I do.
Okay. For the first time ever, see the full story of the first meeting of Captain America and the Black Panther. It's a World War II adventure featuring a young Steve Rogers, the Black Panther, and Nick Fury and his Howling Commandos in combat with the nastiest villains in the Marvel Universe, Baron Strucker and the Red Skull. The only thing we talked about before, it's like, okay, well, is this really the first appearance? The time they met? I mean, it certainly is, with that Black Panther, but there's other stories that kind of also have this. So you have there was also Wolverine Origins, that series, not the miniseries, the series Wolverine Origins, issue 18. That had when Nick Fury met Cap in November of 1941, which is before the USA entered the war. So there's that story. And then there's a recent series called Marvel. I think it's written by Kurt Busiek. In Marvel 5, there's also apparently a first meeting. There's a lot of first meetings here.
There is. Yeah, there's some continuity issues. And of course, in this series, there are a couple of continuity issues, right? I mean, is it his first time to Wakanda? What's his relationship with Nick? Clearly, Bucky's not involved. So there's some issues here with Bucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
So and we'll learn more about that later. But yeah, so it's a great series. But yeah, there are maybe it's the Marvel Knights imprint, like you said, and sometimes Marvel Knight imprints don't gel nicely with the rest of the.
Well, Volume 4 was Marvel Knights,
It
right? I mean, that
was,
was
yeah.
of Captain America.
But there's things in Volume 4 that they've never resolved, right? We've never resolved the whole Cap being intentionally frozen and that being a
That's true.
ploy, right, to prevent him from interfering with the use of nuclear weapons in Japan. So yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, that's true. All right, so on the cover here, it's almost like a reverse of the first cover. It's the same thing where you have Cap and Black Panther with their weapons in their hands, but instead Cap's in the front and Black Panther's behind them. So it's really the only difference. They're both kind of jumping into battle. There is a American flag behind Captain America. So here we are, flags of our fathers, and in both covers we have the American flag. We'll see if this continues or not. And the creative team is the same, just in case anybody was curious. Should I read the synopsis of issue 1?
Sure, why not?
Okay, I mean we just went through it, so I don't know if we
Yeah.
need to. But okay. The Howling Commandos, an elite team of Americans put together by Sergeant Nick Fury during World War II, are more than used to confronting Hitler's armies all across the globe. On a mission gone bad, they're surprised to be reinforced by a single man, a costume hero going by the name Captain America, America's secret weapon. With the tide of the war in constant ebb and flow, Hitler's men have discovered a unique metal called vibranium that can be used to create unstoppable missiles. Baron von Strucker leads German forces to the African nation of Wakanda, the only place vibranium exists, to claim the metal's powers for the Reich. America deploys the Howlers and Captain America to Wakanda, where they find the first wave of Nazis have already been slaughtered by Wakandian forces and their king, the Black Panther. Cap and the Howlers have been taken captive by the Wakandians, still riled by the arrival of foreign armies on their doorstep. What none of them know is that the real villain behind the Nazi assault is a Nazi general by the name of Red Skull, who will see to it personally that Wakandan's myth as an unconquerable nation is shattered. And on here, we cut to a splash page, and it is a Wakandian. He was a gentleman. I don't know what his role is, but he is entertaining the Howling Commandos, and he's standing there in his African garb on a stage that is open air to the jungle, and on the stage behind him is a baby grand piano with a Wakandian dressed in um, a regal black suit, almost like a tux, sitting at the piano. And he says, "Welcome. You are guests of the Black Panther, the immortal guardian of the nation of Wakanda. We are a warrior people, but have a deep appreciation for all cultures, both the European and our own. And now, a return to the classics." And so we turn and we see who's watching all this and that is the Howling Commandos are all sitting there. And there's a big feast there with them, and they're just enjoying watching the show. And we cut back to Gabe's inner monologue. "I'm in the middle of the African jungle listening to Bach. How did a Negro from Harlem end up here?" "Sarge, my stomach is barking like a junkyard dog smelling this food. May I?" "If he wanted to kill us, we'd be dead by now. Dig in. Where is our star-spangled? Whoa. And now they're buddies? and we see the king with his shirt off, sitting in a chair. And next to him, seated, is Captain America. And they're just talking. So Nick wants to know more, and he walks over. Hey, Captain, guess you guys kissed and made up. Well, you have to respect a guy with a kick like that. My head is still ringing. Are you enjoying yourself, Sergeant? Just peachy, Your Highness. But I was wondering if you had any plans for dealing with the Nazi response to the little message you sent back. Outsiders have tried to invade my country for centuries, Sergeant. Yet, here we are, unconquered. It's a dangerous mistake to underestimate this opponent, Your Highness. Just ask Poland, France, Ethiopia. Noted. We're having pretty frank conversations, Fury. The Panther is open to cooperative efforts. Under the proper terms. Understood. I hope those terms don't cost too many lives. Those terms will ensure there is a Wakanda, and not just the latest annexation of an empire. Noted. So he walks back to his commandos, and Dum Dum asks him, how'd that go? He doesn't like me any more than I trust him. And then we cut back to the Nazi base camp 5 miles east. And it's Baron Strucker in his tent. Apparently, we underestimated the Wakandians. Never again. I want 5 regiments assembled by dawn. It's time we hit them hard, wipe them off the face of the earth, and take the vibranium for the Reich. And the Red Skull is there. No, we will not commit all of our resources at this time. You will send 1 regiment. But 1. And then the Red Skull lights his cigarette. As you wish, mein Herr. We cut back to the commandos, and they're all laying there after having their meal, and they're all catching some shut-eye. What a meal! Can we be posted here for the rest of the war? Don't get too comfy. Things will get hot soon enough. I'm worried about Cap, Gabe. He's green, and I think this Panther guy could be pulling the wool over his eyes. We need to get in there, make some friends in their camp, and see what they're up to. And Gabe looks up at him. So why don't you think they'll pull the wool over my eyes? Because you're a howler. Right. Now I'm going to pause here for a second, Bob. I like that.
I do too. Yeah.
Because it wasn't like Nick was, saying, like, I don't know. I like his response. I mean, obviously, Gabe's black. Perhaps there's some sort of competitive advantage to having him kind of buddy up with the Wakandians because of, his race. But Nick's not playing that up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he says, well, what makes you think they want to pull the wool over my eyes? And he said, because you're a howler. Right. And so like, I picked you for a reason. You are up to the task. I have faith in you. That's how I read that.
No, I think you're right on. Right. For him, Cap is still green, right? He's not seasoned yet. Gabe is a seasoned howler, man. He's a warrior, right? And so he can be counted on to see the job through. I mean, some might say, well, gosh, you don't want to send Gabe in there, right? Gabe might identify with the Wakandans, but Nick's not worried about that because he knows he's a serious professional.
And he trusts him.
Yeah.
So we cut back to Gabe by himself resting back on his bed, arms behind his head, staring at the ceiling. I found myself in a black man's paradise, only to be asked to spy on another Negro to see if he's a Nazi puppet, an overconfident fool, or if he's the truth. Am I scared to find out it's not real? So we cut to Black Panther and Cap, and I say Black Panther, but maybe just to remind people and not confuse them. This is King Azuri, right? This is T'Chaka's father, T'Challa's grandfather. I hope you find the accommodations are comfortable, Steve Rogers. Beats sleeping standing up in a foxhole with water up to your ankles. That's for. Wait, how do you know my name? A vast spy network, not unlike your own. Sometimes there are benefits in being, how shall I put it, invisible. What does he mean by that, Bob?
Well, it's a great panel here, Rick, right? Because it's a flashback. It shows the skinny Steve Rogers, right, talking to Dr. Erskine, and this is before receiving the super soldier serum. They're in a lab of some sort, and in the foreground, you see a janitor with a mop and a bucket, and it's a black man, right? So he's suggesting that the janitor is invisible. Nobody sees him. He's there, but because he's a black man, nobody pays any attention to him, right? He's almost not present, of course, to their eyes. And so he's the perfect spy.
Yeah, I think that says a lot, Bob, because it's I appreciate the fact that race is a big part of this story. And here we are, the fact that here's a black janitor that it goes unnoticed, because he's less than, right? I mean, he's a helper. He's not important, and some of that is going to be his status, right, in his role, perhaps,
Right.
and how that's being considered. He's not this scientist, or for that matter, a guard. He's just a cleaning guy. It's kind of like that TV series, The Cleaning Lady, that's out there right now. You ever seen that?
No, I haven't.
Okay, I've seen the commercials for it. I've never watched the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's in its second season. And it's the actress who played Elektra on the Daredevil Netflix series.
Okay.
And so she's I guess recruited to do certain things because no one pays attention to her because she's the cleaning lady.
Got it. Okay.
You know what I mean? So I think it's like that same
Right.
attitude, right? Is like, they're just invisible.
Right.
And I don't know. It struck me. It's just struck me as an important comment on our society.
Sure. Yeah. Still relevant, but certainly even more relevant in the time frame that we're talking about. And yeah, I mean, if this had been a blonde, blue-eyed, muscular guy, but this is a Wakandan warrior, right? He's a spy playing the role of a janitor. Nobody pays any attention to him.
Yeah. I think this will cause a lot of Americans to rethink their attitudes. You can't go to war with a bunch of jerks who call themselves the master race and turn around and do the same thing back home. Evil is only allowed to flourish when good men do nothing to stop it. As a symbol of your country, your actions take on great weight. The true test of your ideals will come when the war is over. What do you mean? A nation at war has an enemy to unify them. A nation with no enemy often looks for one within its own borders. What great social commentary.
You're spot on. Yeah. History has proven this true over and over and over again.
Yeah. I mean, you remember, I hate to say this, but do you remember back when 9/11 happened
Sure.
and we all unified as a country? Like that was the last time I remember as a country feeling like we're in this together. Our neighbors, our friends, our colleagues, our coworkers, we're all in this together. We're on the same team.
Uh-huh.
But since then, it has felt like, nope, you're either on this team or you're on that team. There's no in between.
Sure. Right.
And because we had a common enemy at the time. But now, without that common enemy, we are looking within our own borders and we're vilifying each other, right? I don't know. I don't want to get too political
no, well,
here,
you're
Bob,
right. You're right.
but
But I
it
mean,
is an excellent comment
yeah,
on society.
right. It's, and well, in this case, I mean, we had a legitimate enemy with the Nazis, of course, and the Axis powers. But even we have manufactured enemies around the world, and Cap tackled those concerns, right? Do you remember in the first few issues of Volume 4, he struggled with that as well. That sometimes even the nation itself looks to unify itself by looking outward, and sometimes that takes some creative engineering of a villain. And so, yeah, we got to constantly be on guard about that. And that's one of the things I love about Steve is he recognizes frequently and comments on frequently that we got to be careful about looking for villains, and not for villains' sake, but for this effort of unifying ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And I also love this quote: evil is only allowed to flourish when good men do nothing to stop it, right? I mean, that's a
Right.
famous quote from
Sure is.
a long time ago. And
Edmund
I was
Burke,
actually,
right?
huh?
Edmund Burke? Is that Burke?
You know what? I
don't know.
honestly, without Googling it, I
I
don't
don't
think
know.
I would
Yeah.
know, but it is a quote that I actually was thinking about the other day.
Yeah.
And that's an important thing. It's good thoughts don't make a good man. Good actions do.
That's it. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. He talks about after the wars, when it'll be the chance for, to Cap to be a symbol of his country that proves whether or not the ideals are matter, right? Of course, Steve doesn't have that opportunity, at least not right away.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a nice nod. Not only I think I don't know if the author intended this, but it's a nice nod to maybe the commie smasher Cap, right? Who didn't? He was one of those guys that went down that rabbit hole of looking for villains within our own borders, and not
I
living
didn't think
up
about that.
not living up
That's
to
an
the ideals.
interesting point. All right, so then we cut to the German tanks approaching Wakanda, and they are just rip roaring through the jungle, making a loud noise, Bob. Oh my goodness, what is that? What's the matter? You don't know the sound of a Panzer tank by now? All right, Howlers, scramble. Hey, unlock the door. I thought we were guests, not prisoners. And then outside the door are two Wakandan soldiers standing over it. The Black Panther has decreed that you shall be protected from harm. You gotta be kidding me. We're soldiers. The Black Panther appreciates your willingness to contribute to Wakanda's defense. Stand by for further instructions. I knew it. The fix is in. It's all been a setup. And then the tanks come up to the big wall. Commence firing in. And then out of the ground comes this futuristic looking device. I mean, it's got to be 3 stories tall. And it looks like something that, I mean, heck, it looks like the helmet to Galactus.
That's what I was thinking too. Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Heck, I think the colorists thought the same thing because they kind of colored
Right.
it the same
They
color as
did.
Galactus' helmet.
Yeah.
And it's just this huge silo with like these wings on it. What the hell is that? Weird. My compass just went south. Firing. And then the tank blows up, Bob.
Boom.
And we see the Red Skull there with a soldier with binoculars. And the Red Skull says, keep watching. Where are you going, Hans? I see survivors. And then the German soldier gets a spear thrown through his body. Like most times, like I think if a spear went to hit somebody, it kind of like gets stuck in them, right?
Right.
But the
Yeah.
spear was thrown with such velocity that it went through them. And it's the king himself, Black Panther, up there, and he's got his 2 what are those the guards called again?
Oh my gosh, what are they called? The Dora Milaje or something?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Right. And it's funny, they instead of being bald, they got froze.
Right. They look like I hate to say it, they look like Foxy Brown. Right? Or
Oh, sure, I can see that.
or Beyonce and Austin Powers, Gold Member, right?
Mm.
Right.
Yeah, baby. And then we got Black Panther up there, and he's standing on top of the cliff, and he says, "Don't worry, I've got one for you too." And she hands him another spear, and then Cap comes running out of the smoke onto the German soldiers and just starts attacking. Thank you, Captain. No problem. And then Black Panther jumps on top of a Panzer, and there's a German soldier there, and he just runs the spear through his body as he's running by him, as if like, like you're not even worth my time. I'm gonna spare you as I'm running by you. And he says, "Welcome to Wakanda." that's badass.
Yes. Yeah.
Shoot before they get us. And then they go to fire the tank, and it blows up, Bob.
Boom.
And then they run up to the big Galactus helmet-looking device, and that device has jumped all of our guns. We have to destroy it. Right away, sir. But it has its own defenses, and it starts like ripping apart, with blades, the guards around them. My God. And Cap says, I got these guys. Watch out for the Panther's teeth. And Cap just jumps in and attacks them. And then there's somebody with a German grenade. What do they call those? Potato mashers?
That's exactly right.
And I gotta say, I'm looking at this artwork, and maybe it's just Claus Jansen's ink, but I'm seeing a lot of John Romita Jr. But now that I'm thinking about it, it was Claus's really stylistic inking.
Yeah, I think you're right. Yeah.
And I love that one of his guards, the Dora Majaju or Menage or whatever's,
The Menage a Trois,
yeah, because there is No, there's two of them.
Right.
Menage a deux.
Yeah. Well, there's three with the Panther. Yeah.
Oh, that's true. Yeah. She says, beloved, he so I love what? What?
Yeah.
His guards are his lovers too? Because she says beloved. Now maybe in another culture, beloved is nothing to do with romance. Maybe it is, a term used for, your king and that your affection for. So maybe I'm totally
And maybe
planting.
reading too much into it. Right.
Yeah, my American culture, you know what I
Exactly.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says, I see. And he takes the spear and he throws it into the man with the grenade. But of course, he then drops the grenade, which blows up. And then Black Panther goes running towards Captain to check in on him because it did blow up near the captain. And he says, Captain, are you all right? And then Cap's behind his shield, kind of protecting himself. But then he sees Black Panther sneak up on him and he turns and he's really surprised. And he's like, what? Oh, hey, are you okay? You were very close to that. I can't hear you. My ears are still ringing. And so the Germans start firing, but Cap pushes Black Panther out of the way to protect him with his shield. Look out. And then the Germans just start running and charging, and they can't block all our bullets. And Cap yells, for freedom. And he and Black Panther and his two guards are kind of in the middle of a melee here, right? It's a bloody battle. I mean, you see blades flying and bullets ripping and blood goring everywhere. And then at the end, it's nothing but a bunch of German soldiers lying on the battlefield. Back at the Royal Palace, there is inside the palace, there is the king's wife and their two sons. Why do we have to hide here? I should be at my father's side helping defeat the invaders. Hush, T'Chaka. He doesn't need to be distracted by looking after you in a time of crisis. But I can help, Mother. I want to do my part. Your time to carry the weight of a nation will still come soon enough. Why can't you be like your little brother, Sian? He uses his time wisely. Why not keep his head in a book? He'll never know the burdens of leadership. Boy, have you lost your... And the two sons start fighting each other, and the mom gets between them. We cannot be at war with the outside world and at home. And then we cut back to the commandos. And they're getting geared up. They got weapons. They're getting their weapons, Bob. The Wakandian guards have opened the door to give them their weapons. Come to Papa, sweetheart. How bad is it out there? If you're calling on us, it must be an ugly situation. Oh, it is. All right, Howlers, the odds are going to be against us, but this is what we do. Are we ready? And they go outside and they yell, Bob. But they don't. Who? And they look, and there's Cap, and there's the King Panther standing over a legion of slaughtered German soldiers. So, what do you want us to do? Help clear corpses from the field. As you said, it's ugly out here. Wah,
I love
wah.
it. Yeah.
So later we cut to inside, and Steve's getting bandaged by some of the ladies there, and the king is in a rejuvenation pool in a very lovely headquarters. And Steve says, "Whatever's in these plants, I'm healing faster than ever. Wakandan medicine is, well, I don't want to sound like I'm bragging, but we are not just warriors. I can tell your heart is heavy. We are alone now. Speak your mind. It's just that now that I know who you are, what you and your nation can offer the world, why won't you join us? If you were a member of the invaders, we could end this war in weeks." Our isolationist policy works for a couple of reasons. The world is assured they are under no threat, that we will sprout imperialist ambitions. And it keeps any dark impulses in the hearts of Wakanda in check. I've had similar conversations with Prince Namor of Atlantis. He certainly has no love for the Allies or the surface world in general, but he recognizes that Hitler in the Third Reich is the greatest of evils, and it's time for all good men to come together and fight. Powerful words, Steve Rogers. You believe in the American ideals with all your heart. That is clear. The only question now is, can you maintain them? And so we cut back to the German camp, and there is Strucker standing outside of the tent talking to the Red Skull inside the tent. "I fail to understand the logic of your strategy, Mynheer. We've lost a whole squadron of men, and the Africans are more confident than ever." You said something, Strucker? "They just wiped us out. It wasn't even a contest." "It was never meant to be." And he puts down a sketch pad that he was working on. What was he drawing?
It looks like he's drawing a sleeper, Rick.
Yeah. "What are you? I never expected us to win this fight, Baron. This was a reconnaissance mission, nothing more. An exploratory jab at our opponent to see exactly what we're up against. Now the Wakandians and their American allies are confident, over-confident, and exhausted from that battle, unprepared for what we are about to unleash. The full might of the Nazi war machine? More troops and tanks? Pfft. Follow me." And they walk outside in the nighttime. And they go into a different tent. "What's in here?" "The future. I see. You are a master chess player. I play to win." And who do we cut to, Bob? Who's there?
Oh my goodness, it's Master Man and Warrior Woman with a lot of Wakandan prisoners.
Yeah. And Master Man is standing there and he says, "Duck." And Warrior Woman, can you describe what she's wearing, Bob?
I would love to, Rick. So she's wearing very, very thigh-high leather boots, a very, very skimpy leather, appears black leather briefs with a matching brassiere, and a very long black trench coat, and of course the typical SS black garrison hat. So she looks interesting.
And she's holding up a Wakandan prisoner who has got his hands tied behind his back. She's holding him by the throat and picking him off the ground, choking him. While a slew of other Wakandians are in the same bondage on their knees on the floor. And the one that she's picking up choking spits blood into her face. Masterman We'll have none of that. You filthy animal! Never befell an Aryan woman. And he just basically rips the man apart. Because, you know, he's like Superman, like strong. And he sees the Red Skull. And he gives a Sieg Heil salute. Herr Skull, I didn't see you there. Sorry for the mess. It's fine, Master Man. How goes the interrogation? We're just getting started. We'll have answers soon. Go clean yourself up, warrior woman. We don't want you getting some monkey virus from his saliva, and bring back a damp cloth to clean Baron Strucker's clothes as well. Now that you've seen what we can do, are you ready to talk? And he's saying that to one of the Wakandians. Do I get to spit in your eye first? Tiger Man. And out of nowhere is this, I don't know how to describe him, but he's a man who his limbs are cut off just below the shoulder.
Right. Missing arms.
And they're bandaged. But he's wearing a yellow jumpsuit with black trunks on the outside. And he's got a big jaw with lots of teeth. And he just goes running face first at the soldier, Wakandan soldier, and he starts devouring him with his face. Now, Strucker, do you see what I mean? In 24 hours, we will conquer Wakanda, enslave their people to mine their Vibranium for the Reich, and kill the rest. To be continued.
You know, and technically, Rick, his name is Armless Tiger Man.
Technically, you are correct. So here's, I find this interesting.
It's
so,
classic.
You know, we see these super powered characters. Master Man, Warrior Woman. Now, they were introduced in the mid-70s in the pages of the Invaders. However, Armless Tiger Man, Gustav Hertz, he was actually introduced in Marvel Mystery Comics 26 back in October of 1941. So this is a character that has actually been around since the World War II in the comics.
It's crazy, right? It's crazy. I think he had one appearance in the Golden Age and went up against, I think, the Angel. But yeah, I mean, it's a crazy one to pluck from obscurity from the Golden Age. I'm super curious why he was selected of all the potential villains, Armless Tiger Man. But I love it.
Can I take a wild guess?
Sure.
Because I have not read 3 and 4 yet.
Okay.
Because we're going to do that next episode.
Yeah.
And I've never read these before.
Okay.
So it'll be my first time. I have not read 3 and 4. I have no idea what's coming.
All right.
My guess is he's going to die.
Well, yeah.
Right? Because you got to have some villains like to be defeated or die or something like this. Because it is a time of war, right? So
yeah.
We all know Master Man and Warrior Woman are going to live. We all know Strucker and Red Skull are going to live.
Right.
Here's a character that's going to get killed off. That's my guess.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's probably a pretty good guess, right? But I mean, they could have just made up the character, right? I think I love when these obscure characters get picked out of the Golden Age and repurposed. I think that just tickles me to no end. So I'm thrilled that Armless Tiger Man was given a second shot in the comics. Whatever happens to him, Rick. And I wish him the best. I really do.
Why?
Everybody's redeemable, Rick.
Really?
Maybe he sees the error of his ways and he ends up staying like the White Wolf from the MCU. He ends up staying in Wakanda and getting new arms or something. Who knows, right? It's possible. Anything's possible.
Uh-huh. The man goes around with this big jaw eating people. That's his thing.
Yeah, true enough.
Right?
True enough. Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm struggling here. I'm trying to come up with some sort of
I
hand
know.
joke.
It's gonna be my cosplay next year if I ever do cosplay. I'm gonna go as Armless Tiger Man.
You're gonna need a green screen.
Hopefully not a bathroom break.
Yeah, I'm not gonna go trick or treating with you. Of all the years that's the year I'm gonna be like, sorry, Bob, I ain't going with you this year.
Hold my bucket.
All right, so let's talk about this. We're halfway through this story. I'm digging it. I love the fact that we've got a young Steve Rogers. Now, I'm thinking our listeners who have, been longtime listeners, I hope that they pick up on the fact that I am playing Steve Rogers differently in my voice. I know, Bob, you have no clue what I'm talking about.
I'm just captivated by all your voices. So I didn't even pick up on that.
Yeah. No, I'm playing him a little. He's younger. He's inexperienced. He's more naive.
Right.
So I'm trying to play the voice as someone who talks a little faster, has a little bit more confidence, right? A little bit less battle tested. That's how I'm playing the voice. I know you don't pick up on these types of things, but I'm hoping some of our listeners do.
Some of the more, shall we say, I don't know what. I had a word and then it just left. It's gone. Yeah. Well.
Those with maybe some sort of acting background?
No, I was going to say people who are a little more sensitive to those sorts of things would pick up on it, right? Yeah, yeah. So plus, I see you. Right? They just get the voices. I see you. So.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah. And there's no way I'm going to mistake that voice for Young if I can see you. So.
Yikes! Ouch!
Saw the shot. I took it, Mav.
But I do like a younger Steve. Because it's different.
Right. Yeah. You're right.
It gives us an opportunity to see someone who can have the wool pulled over his eyes, right? Who can have a different look on life because he's less experienced. So it's interesting to see that. And I'm curious of how it's going to go. I want to see is the next two issues going to be a life lesson for Steve? Like, is he going to come away from his experience with King Azuri? Is he going to get some wisdom from?
Right. There's some mentorship going on here.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. I mean, I like the fact that Black Panther looks at him and says, like, you ready yourself for what's to come. There's after the war. I hope you continue this same attitude, at that point. There is. He sees something in Steve. I like that too. I like the fact that, he doesn't see what the Howling Commandos see. Like a guy in red, white, and blue pajamas that's just garish to look at, like that's what they see, and they're like, who is this guy? And they're almost a little jealous of him, if you will, I mean? Like, so, but the Black Panther sees him and sees promise. He sees a future. Um, like any good leader does, he doesn't just see somebody for what they are currently. He sees their potential. And I like that about this.
Yeah. And I think, the thing with the Howlers and Fury and the team is that they're a hammer, right? And that's what warriors are. They're hammers, right? Every problem is a nail because you're a hammer. And hammers are great,
Mm-hmm.
When you're in certain situations, but they're not great in all situations. And uh Azuri is looking for Cap to be more than just a hammer, right? He can be a great hammer in combat, right? He can decimate a Nazi squadron of troops, but he needs to be something more than that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He needs to have different tools in his toolkit and be able to do different things in peacetime as well as wartime. There's different ways to serve. Fury is not a peacetime warrior,
Yeah.
None of that's not what the Howlers are about. But Cap, there will come a time when he will be in peacetime, and that requires a different tool set. And that's what I think the Black Panther is trying to impress upon him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I like that. And you mentioned before that we don't see Bucky.
Right? Yeah.
Right. So this could very well be a time before uh Bucky finds out about Cap and becomes his partner, right? Because he has the triangular shield,
right?
And and when I'm trying to figure out Bucky was with him when he had a triangular shield, right?
He was briefly, yep.
But we know that this is still very early on if he has that shield.
Yes.
So it could be a time before he met Bucky. I don't know.
And he has that headpiece, right? Rather than the full cowl.
Yes, because we do see a lot of skin around the neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have read this series before, Rick, and I will tell you, the first time I read it, I didn't love it. And I don't know why. Because the second time I read it in preparation for the show, because I like to prepare, I was blown away by it.
Can you pause? Just pause for the listeners to stop laughing.
Oh, put your jaws. Yeah. Okay. Everybody done? Everybody? Okay. I read the series, in prep for going through it with you, and I was blown away by the series. And we're only halfway through it now, and there's a lot more to go and a lot more twists and turns, but it really is a great story. And it's well written. And I like action as much as the next guy, but I also like a thinking man's comic. And there's a lot to think about in this writing.
Mm-hmm. I also like the fact that it's told from the perspective of Gabe Jones.
Yeah.
Because seeing it, number one, seeing it from a non-main character, super powered, just regular Joe's perspective, I think is important. Number one. Number two, and this brings it to a whole different element, seeing it from a black man's point of view in the time period that it takes place, in a country it takes place, adds a whole nother element to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I love the fact that Steve just grabbed the utensils and he was like, yep, no, I got some utensils. Yeah, you done with those? No, I'm good. Don't worry yourself, Cookie.
Yep.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and use these. Now, personally, me, Rick, I would have taken my napkin and wiped them off first.
Uh-huh.
I don't care who that person was. It could have been my wife.
Right. Yeah.
I'm going to wipe them off before I stick them in my mouth. But that's me.
And Steve doesn't have to worry about that. He's got great immune response at this point, right?
Oh, you just ruined it. You're saying
he's not worried about germs,
So you're saying this was strictly a not a germ thing, but it was more of a cultural thing, right?
Oh, absolutely. It was a social commentary as opposed to Yeah. But that's just it, right? I mean, we would say, well, we could take that part out of the equation, and the only thing left is the social commentary, and so that's what makes it so hard hitting.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's important too that Hudlin, is as a black man is writing this, um, because he has his perspective that he's bringing into it, and he's allowing us to let's face it, the majority of us are not black who are reading this story, just
Mhm. Right.
statistically
Yeah,
speaking,
demographically speaking, right? Yeah.
right?
Yep.
But we get to see it from those eyes, and it is interesting at the very least, but eye-opening, hopefully at another level.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad we're doing this series, especially now with the Black Panther movie coming out, because I think a lot of folks missed this 4-issue miniseries when it first came out.
I know I did.
A lot of folks don't even know it exists. So I'm glad we're having an opportunity to resurrect it and reintroduce it to some folks, or like me who have read it before, and for some reason, I don't know, it didn't click with me the first time, but now I'm loving it.
Yep. All right. So next episode, we will finish this story. We will do issues 3 and 4, and we will finish that up. And Bob, can we finally announce who our guest is going to be for episode 113?
I guess we can.
I'm going to give everybody a hint. And it's related somehow to what we've been covering.
Okay.
That's all I'm going to say.
All right. So it's related to the Captain America mythos.
Well, let's just say the topics that we've been covering, this particular Captain America creator has been intimately involved.
All right, that should give folks a little more, some guardrails to operate.
Yes, yeah. So come back next episode. Not only will we finish up this story, Captain America, Black Panther, Flags of Our Father, we're going to do issues 3 and 4, finish that up, but we'll also announce our next guest that will be here on the show for episode 113.
Exciting stuff.
Excellent. All right. He's Bob Lucius. I'm Rick Verbanis, and you have been listening to another episode of the Captain America Comic Book Fans Podcast.